However, a drop in VO2 max occurs. However, studies such as Duke in 2012 showed that this is only short-term and isn't a very long-lasting one. So once going back to sea level, it slowly depletes and disappears. Finally, respiratory muscles will have strengthened due to stronger breathing patterns and due to a much larger amount of breaths per minute due to the altitude. Some performers use the train high, live high, where you go to the actual environment with the altitude, which is a lot less convenient, but for many this gives a certain psychological edge and belief, almost, and self-belief in themselves. Whereas some live low, train high, which is essentially training at sea level and doing all of your practicing and your sport at sea level, however, sleeping in an altitude hypoxic condition like we've seen in the tents and things like that we can see here. It can allow for increased recovery time after training due to increased oxygen intake. However, due to training high, the training stimulus will be lower and consequently have a determinal effect on it, on the performance. Finally, what does this all equate to? What does this actually essentially mean for us? Well, many studies have proven that all these effects and methods of altitude training do lead to an increase in performance. However, not everything is positive about performing at altitude. Firstly, not as much of a workload can be competed during altitude, and muscle fatigue occurs at a much more rapid pace. Less oxygen can also be consumed, and this is a major downfall for any aerobic activity. Looking at the data, we can actually see a significant drop in oxygen saturation between competing pre-altitude and competing at or during altitude. As we can see, there's a significant percentage drop in the actual oxygen saturation. Waste products are produced at a much more quick and rapid pace, and it also takes almost twice as long to fully recover and dispose of these waste products. Also, due to a loss in the blood in the body increases and making the viscosity rise, making the heart have to work harder to compete or complete its function during exercise. We can see from the data that obviously that we have a lower oxygen saturation, but the heart won't be getting as much oxygen as well, meaning that the heart will have to work harder and have less oxygen to do it. Whilst these are seen as negatives, there are almost all of them are actually. These are only really applicable to aerobic activity. This was really shown during the Mexico Olympics, where the 10,000 meter race was significantly slower simply because they were at altitude. The winner of that race had a final time of 29 minutes and 39 seconds, whereas during Athens in 2004 Olympics, which was at a sea level, the winner had a final time of 27 minutes and 8 seconds, almost a 2.5 minute difference. This is because the air is thinner, so they can't breathe in and intake as much. However, if we look at anaerobic side of things, it can mean an advantage. This is because obviously the air is thinner, so they can run and throw with little resistance, and because it's anaerobic, they don't have to struggle with breathing in and taking in less oxygen. This is proven in the same Mexico Olympics, where the long jump record was broken with 9 meters 21 and stayed that way for nearly 20 years. Even with the technology advancing, the record still stayed.